Hello, Sacral Beauties. Welcome to the She Sacral podcast, where we focus on burnout recovery through the power of sacred pleasure. We've been talking all about the burnout archetypes, utilizing the Myers-Briggs personality framework. So if you're new here or if you're like, what is she talking about? You can check out the first episode of the series, which will break it all down for you into understanding more about this personality type framework. So if you are familiar with this and you know that you are an INFJ, then welcome. Your burnout archetype would be the loyal one. So if you have ever stayed in a job or relationship or role long after it stopped nourishing you because you believed that you could fix it, then this is the episode for you. So as an INFJ, you tend to be introverted with the way that you draw in energy. You tend to utilize your intuition with the way that you process information. You are more of a feeler with the way that you make decisions. And you lean towards judging in the way that you relate to structure and flexibility. All right, my INFJs. I am also an INFJ, so this one is exciting for me because I can so relate to all of these things. When it comes to your sacred strengths, you are deeply loyal, you're very intuitive, and you're idealistic. You see potential in people and situations that others miss. Your heart beats for harmony and meaningful connection. So take a deep breath because these are your sacred gifts. But what happens when that loyalty costs you your well-being? You can tend to stay in draining environments because leaving to you feels like failure. You could be the type to overthink exit plans but never act on them. And you might start isolating because you feel misunderstood and can't fake connection anymore. Now, when it comes to loyalty, the way you do one thing is how you do everything. And so while we can sometimes see loyalty as being loyal in relationships or even loyal to a place of work, loyalty is really to anything that you have made a commitment to. So maybe it's even loyalty to your diet, okay? I mean, especially in America, we kind of have this tendency as a culture to overdo things around here. So let's say that you have committed yourself to being a vegan or being a carnivore or being whatever diet that you tend to make a part of your identity. Initially, you might think, yes, this is me. I'm going to live like this forever. This is what resonates. I am embodying this. But over time, maybe that diet may not work for you later on. But because you have made the commitment, you have created an entire belief system around it. Maybe you've even created a community on it. You post about whatever it is that you're eating all the time. For you to walk away from that may feel like failure. So even though the diet may not be working for you, you could be trying everything under the sun and exhausting your body even more on something that you know is not working, because being able to admit that this is no longer working for you or walking away from something that you've deeply committed to feels like you have failed in some way. The same thing could go for any kind of belief system or a community that you've been a part of. Maybe it's a friend that you've had for a long time, whatever it is that you've been loyal to, but maybe over time you're like, man, that doesn't really resonate anymore. Maybe I don't really believe that anymore. Maybe kind of evolved. I've kind of grown as a person and this doesn't really fit me anymore, but you still stay in those spaces anyway. That's a big part of this burnout archetype. Some clues that your body may send you in times of stress or burnout can feel like emotional heaviness, problems with your gut, or chronic fatigue. Now let's dive in a little deeper and talk about your nervous system pattern. When it comes to our survival mechanisms, we can either fight, flight, or flee, freeze, or fawn. This is the way that we've learned how to survive. But for your personality type, you actually have a combination of freezing and fawn. So you tend to tolerate discomfort and then try to make it work at your own expense. So you can tend to freeze a lot, feel very paralyzed and not make any movements, but at the same time, where you're going along with whatever is the thing that you've committed yourself to, even though it's not working. Some core beliefs or things you may say in your mind could be, leaving means I have failed, or I can fix this if I just try harder, or their happiness matters more than mine. Some root causes that can shape these beliefs could be that as a child, your role was to be the peacemaker or the healer. You may have learned that love equals self-sacrifice. When it comes to generational patterns, you may have seen people in your family continue to be loyal even when it hurts. Some core fears you could hold with this archetype could look like a fear of being the bad person who gives up. Maybe even fearing that you become the neglector. Maybe at some point you felt abandoned or neglected and you have vowed subconsciously to yourself to never be that person. But you could fear that you could become that person. You could fear losing meaning or sense of identity if you walk away from the thing that you've committed yourself to. A common burnout trap could be staying in misaligned roles at work or relationships, convincing yourself that you can just fix it. So a prime example could be that you've spent 2 years in a job that completely drains you because you just don't want to let anyone down. Not because you enjoy the work or because you're getting paid well, but simply because you have this sense of loyalty to the people you work with. Your loyalty is sacred, but loyalty belongs to you first. Staying in misaligned spaces is not noble. It's a form of self-abandonment. So ironically, while we're trying to be so loyal and so committed to all these other things, we're abandoning ourselves in the same space. So you can't be loyal to things that aren't serving you and then stay loyal to yourself. It just won't work. So let's talk a little bit more about how this can affect the body. Physically, you can deal with a lot of digestive distress. Maybe your gut is so inflamed that you can't even process food the same way that you're used to, or you may have really low energy, or you may carry a lot of tension in your chest or your stomach. If you have any kind of breathing problems or asthma, you may notice more asthma flare-ups as well when you're under a lot of stress. Hormonally, you can run into cortisol dominance. That's not talked about enough. We've heard of estrogen dominance, we've heard of insulin resistance, but you can reach to a space of cortisol dominance in healthy doses of cortisol. Cortisol wakes you up in the morning. It helps you to combat stress and to react in a timely fashion. But when you're experiencing cortisol dominance, it's kind of like it taps out and you can feel tired and fatigued all the time. So you may experience bloating, more PMS, and some emotional crashes. When it comes to your sacral energy, sensuality and joy can fade because energy is stuck in this feeling of obligation, not pleasure. You're kind of in this energy or this frequency of obligation. And the more we stay in that feeling, the more we will continue to attract things into our life, causing for us to stay obligated to things. You are not obligated to anyone. In fact, the moment you feel this sense of obligation, you should already know that that's a sign that we're becoming more and more disconnected from ourselves. Some common burnout habits with this personality type could be that you are overanalyzing the what-if scenarios, but never acting. Maybe deep inside you're like, what if I just left right now? Or what if I walked away? Or I'm going to walk away. I'm going to go to another job. I'm going to leave this relationship. I'm going to change my lifestyle. But you never actually act on it. You could also end up over-functioning to hold relationships or your roles at work together. You could be avoiding hard conversations to keep the peace. And you could be romanticizing potential instead of honoring reality. This is common for many women to fall in love with the person's potential, but not who they actually are. And then later down the road, at some point, that person never becomes that potential. And then you feel like you've been let down or disappointed or frustrated or feeling like, why do I always attract this kind of person? Maybe we're more attracted to the potential in the person than the actual person. Now, if you're like me, I'm actually a little bit extroverted as well. So we do cover the extroverted version of this personality type in the next episode, which would be considered the overgiving leader. So be sure to check that out to see if there's anything else that resonates with you there. So I love to share some little rituals in every episode that we could do to reconnect back with ourselves and bring pleasure back into our lives. So a micro pleasure that you could do is a loyalty to self list. Write down 3 ways that you can show loyalty to you this week. Choose one and act on it. Another pleasure ritual you could do is to create a freedom hour. Light a candle, play your favorite music, journal about what life would feel like if you just honored you first. I know that at your deep core, you just want peace and harmony. And there's nothing wrong with that, but your personal peace matters too. Start by turning your loyalty inward. And if you're looking for deeper support, let's book a one-on-one call together. As a fellow INFJ, I'm very familiar with these patterns and belief systems, so I would love to chat with you. You could also activate your 30 days of pleasure rituals at shesacral.com, where we also have an exclusive community on our Shesacral Super Chat on Discord, and it is tons of fun. So thank yourself so much for showing up today, and thank you for tuning in to the Shesacral podcast.